Billy Bardy. Billy Bardy was an actor, performer, and advocate whose vibrant presence lit up Hollywood for decades. Born in Pennsylvania in 1924, he moved with his family to California while still a child, seeking better prospects and warmer weather. Though his exact religious activities were not as publicized as some other figures, Billy was known to be friendly with many individuals from diverse faith backgrounds, including members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In an era that was not always kind to people of short stature, Billy stood out because of his vivacious spirit and unwavering confidence. He began acting in the 1920s and 1930s, quickly becoming a familiar face in film shorts and comedies. Over the course of his career, which spanned silent pictures to television, Billy proved that talent matters more than physical appearance. Often cast in comedic roles, he brought a childlike enthusiasm to the screen that resonated with audiences of all ages. Yet, he never shied away from serious topics. He advocated strongly for the rights of little people, helping found organizations that provided support and understanding for those with dwarfism. Billy's warm personality and respectful demeanor earned him admiration from those who worked with him, including industry professionals who had grown up in the LDS Church. They recognized in him the same sense of community, optimism, and generosity valued within Mormon culture. Throughout his life, he combined activism and entertainment with a spirited approach, living by principles of kindness and respect. Dale Van Sickle. Born in the early 1900s, Dale Van Sickle grew up in a devout Mormon household that emphasized hard work, community, and personal faith. Hailing from Florida, he discovered an early love for sports, action, and adventure, traits that would serve him well once he arrived in Hollywood. At the time, the movie industry was rapidly expanding, hungry for larger-than-life stunts to keep audiences on the edge of their seats. Dale seized these opportunities. With a background in athletics and a willingness to take risks, he quickly became a go-to stunt performer for high-intensity scenes, working on everything from Western shootouts to daredevil car chases. The 1930s through the 1960s were a particularly vibrant time for stunt work, with fewer regulations than today. Despite the inherent danger, Dale trusted in his faith to guide him. His upbringing instilled in him a sense of discipline and prudence, attributes that also helped him champion better safety standards within the industry. Over the years, he became a key figure behind the scenes, choreographing crashes, falls, and leaps that thrilled audiences around the world. Yet Dale never saw himself as merely a risk-taker. His faith fueled his compassion for fellow stunt performers, leading him to co-found or support organizations that pushed for improved working conditions and recognition of the artistry behind stunts. While the industry often romanticized danger, Dale's approach was methodical. He prepared meticulously and used his influence to protect others in the field. Dean Jagger. Dean Jagger was born in Columbus Grove, Ohio, at a time when the world seemed poised for change. Though he was not raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints from birth, his path led him there later in life. After achieving success in Hollywood, starring in a range of films from westerns to dramas, Dean met and married a woman who was an active member of the LDS faith. Deeply influenced by her devotion, he embraced the Church's teachings wholeheartedly, finding comfort and direction in its doctrines. Dean's on-screen performances were defined by a steady, understated presence. He won an Academy Award for his work in 12 O'Clock High, portraying a thoughtful, introspective military officer. Critics and audiences alike praised his ability to convey both authority and vulnerability. Behind the camera, Jagger was known for his humility and willingness to engage in sincere conversations about spirituality, morality, and the bigger questions of life. His conversion to Mormonism was not a superficial gesture. Dean immersed himself in studying church doctrine, teaching lessons in congregations, and participating in church-related events. He held that his faith gave him a grounded perspective, enabling him to navigate the unpredictable world of filmmaking. While some of his Hollywood peers were drawn to the glitter and glamour, Dean balanced those temptations with prayer and reflection. Don Bluth. Don Bluth is best known for breathing new life into the animation world, contributing classic films like The Secret of NIMH, An American Tale, and The Land Before Time. Born in El Paso, Texas, and raised in a devout Mormon family, Don experienced a childhood steeped in imagination. From a young age, he found a vivid escape in drawing, storybooks, and the whimsical tales that sparked his creative spirit. Early on, Don joined the Walt Disney Company, contributing as an animator to projects like Sleeping Beauty. His deep-rooted faith instilled in him a belief in the power of morality and storytelling to uplift audiences of all ages. Despite the creative atmosphere at Disney, Bluth eventually parted ways with the studio due to creative differences. His goal was to produce animated films that held strong themes of hope, courage, and moral integrity, principles reflecting his LDS background. With a small team of fellow animators, Don founded his own studio, which led to hits that captured both hearts and box offices. The characters he helped bring to life, like the timid yet tenacious Littlefoot in The Land Before Time, often faced challenges that taught lessons of friendship, resilience, and love. Critics hailed these movies for their emotional depth, while families appreciated the wholesome values. Earl Warren. Earl Warren was born in Los Angeles in 1891 to a family that included Mormon lineage from his mother's side. Though he was not an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the values of fairness, community, and moral duty became cornerstones of his public life. His meteoric rise in politics began as the district attorney of Alameda County and continued when he served as the Attorney General of California. Ultimately, he became governor of California before assuming the role of Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. During his tenure on the court from 1953 to 1969, Warren presided over a series of landmark cases that reshaped American society. His most famous decision, Brown v. Board of Education, 1954, tackled the issue of racial segregation in public schools, asserting that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. This was a momentous step forward for civil rights, and it required moral courage to stand against entrenched norms of the time. Many who knew him attributed his strong ethical compass, in part, to the foundational values he inherited from his mother's side of the family. Although he did not publicly profess regular church attendance, the emphasis on justice and moral accountability echoed the Mormon teachings about individual responsibility and societal betterment. Warren's focus on equality under the law broadened the rights of criminal defendants, bolstered freedoms of speech and expression, and fundamentally altered the relationship between individuals and institutions. Eric Larsson. Born in Cleveland, Utah, Eric Larsson grew up in a tight-knit Mormon community, learning early on about the values of perseverance and creativity. This foundation would later lead him to the Walt Disney Company, where he became one of Disney's legendary 9 old men, the core animators who shaped the studio's golden age of animation. Arriving at Disney in the early 1930s, Eric initially contributed to shorts and worked under the guidance of Walt Disney himself. He had a keen eye for expression, grace, and character movement, elements that gave Disney films their timeless charm. Among his notable projects, Eric animated scenes in classics like Bambi, Cinderella, and Peter Pan. His characters moved with a life that mirrored Larsson's gentle, patient personality. While Eric's work environment was creative and often chaotic, he remained grounded in the teachings he had absorbed in his youth. The LDS Church's emphasis on family resonated strongly with him, and he strove to bring a familial atmosphere to the animation department. Up-and-coming animators would later describe Eric as a mentor who combined technical know-how with moral encouragement, consistently pointing them toward their best work while also encouraging them to keep personal integrity intact. Erik Larsson's contributions helped define some of the most beloved animated features in cinema. Yet beyond the art, he left a lasting impression on colleagues for his kindness and conscientiousness, traits that aligned with the moral discipline he learned in his Latter-day Saint upbringing. Fay Wray. Fay Wray's claim to fame will forever be linked to one of Hollywood's most iconic roles, Ann Darrow in the 1933 classic King Kong. Born in Alberta, Canada, in 1907, Fay was the daughter of parents who were members of the LDS Church. Her grandfather, Daniel Webster Jones, was a noted Latter-day Saint pioneer, and this rich heritage gave Fay a grounding that would follow her as she pursued a film career in the United States. Moving to Los Angeles as a child, Fay discovered a love for acting early on. Hollywood of the 1920s and 1930s was an exciting place for a newcomer. Silent films were transitioning to talkies, and audiences were captivated by fresh faces. Wray found success in a series of horror and adventure films, culminating in her unforgettable performance as the beauty who tamed the beast on top of the Empire State Building. Yet, despite her star status, Fay maintained a close connection to family and traditions. She spoke warmly of her heritage, although she was not a vocal advocate of religious matters in the public eye. Still, the sense of resilience and perseverance that characterized her ancestors appeared to shine through in her career. She navigated the ups and downs of Hollywood with grace, avoiding many of the scandals that ensnared other starlets. Frank Borzage. Frank Borzage's name may not be as immediately recognizable as some of his contemporaries, but to cinephiles, he remains a towering figure in early Hollywood. Born in 1894, he was raised in a family that practiced the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, imbuing him with ideals of hope, redemption, and the transformative power of love. These principles became the hallmark of his directorial style, making his films stand out during a period often dominated by more cynical storylines. Starting as an actor in silent films, Frank soon discovered a passion for directing, a role that allowed him to infuse each scene with emotional resonance. Classics like Seventh Heaven and Street Angel illustrated his favorite motif: love as a divine force capable of surmounting even the most dire circumstances. While other directors courted controversy or social realism, Borzage focused on the human heart, creating melodramas where devotion conquered despair. Though not always overt in referencing religion, his LDS upbringing manifested in the consistent themes of compassion, sacrifice, and moral conviction in his work. Some film scholars note the near-spiritual fervor that permeates his romantic storylines. Characters often find salvation and deeper meaning through connection to one another. Borzage won 2 Academy Awards for Best Director, proof that audiences and critics alike appreciated his gentle, uplifting narratives amid Hollywood's hustle. George Romney. Born in 1907 in a Mormon colony in Mexico, George Wilkin Romney experienced early adversity when his family fled revolutionary unrest and returned to the United States. The values taught by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, service, honesty, and industriousness, guided George from a young age. These traits would later define his career in both business and politics. After various odd jobs, George made his mark in the American automobile industry, eventually becoming CEO of American Motors Corporation, AMC. Under his leadership, AMC introduced innovative compact cars that challenged the dominance of larger gas guzzlers. This shift wasn't just a financial decision. It reflected George's broader approach to responsible business. He believed companies had a duty to serve consumers ethically, an outlook shaped by his faith's emphasis on stewardship and fairness. Entering politics, George served as governor of Michigan, 1963 to 1969, championing civil rights legislation and advocating for policies that aimed to uplift marginalized communities. His tenure was marked by a willingness to reach across the aisle, focusing on collaboration rather than division. Many in his circle noted that George's belief in Christian principles, like compassion for the less fortunate, drove his policy-making, particularly on social welfare and education. Gordon Jump. Best known for his role as Arthur Big Guy Carlson on the sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati, Gordon Jump was born in Dayton, Ohio, in 1932. A quiet humility marked both his personal and professional life, a quality often linked to his devotion to the LDS Church. Gordon's path into show business wasn't straightforward. He worked in radio and local television before finally landing the comedic role that would define his career in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Despite sudden fame, Gordon did not waver in his principles. Industry colleagues observed that he handled the pressures of stardom with calm assurance, rooted in his belief that success was a blessing to be stewarded wisely. Whether filming scenes or appearing at fan events, Gordon's demeanor was consistently polite, approachable, and warm. Off-screen, he remained an active member of his congregation, participating in leadership roles and community outreach. Younger actors who worked with him sometimes commented on how he balanced faith and career, noting how he navigated a secular environment while staying true to his convictions. Gordon also lent his talents to church-produced films and instructional videos. In these projects, he saw an opportunity to use his acting gifts to share values like honesty, family unity, and moral reflection with broader audiences. Harmon Killebrew. Harmon Clayton Killebrew, Jr. stands among baseball's most feared power hitters, belting 573 home runs during a Hall of Fame career, primarily with the Minnesota Twins. Born in 1936 in Payette, Idaho, Harmon was raised in a devout Mormon family that prized discipline, humility, and community. These values shaped him from Little League to the major leagues, where he became a legend known simply as the Killer. Yet Harmon's nickname belied a gentle nature. He was quietly spoken, respectful of opponents, and equally gracious to fans. Teammates and sports writers often remarked on his unwavering moral code. While other players might argue heatedly with umpires, Killebrew chose a more measured approach. He viewed baseball as a gift and believed that mutual respect was foundational to competition. This attitude reflected the core LDS belief in treating others kindly. His faith also guided him off the field. Harmon participated in community events, mentored younger athletes, and spoke at LDS gatherings throughout his career and afterward. Despite his formidable presence at the plate, he was equally known for his personal warmth and willingness to help those in need. Even as his fame grew, he kept an unassuming perspective. Winning the American League MVP in 1969 didn't inflate his ego. Instead, he used the platform to encourage sportsmanship at all levels of play. Howard Hughes. Few figures of the 20th century encapsulate both triumph and mystery like Howard Hughes. Born in 1905 to a wealthy family, Hughes inherited a successful tool manufacturing business that laid the foundation for his empire. His maternal relatives were devout members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, infusing his early life with moral expectations and community-oriented values. While he never fully embraced the faith publicly, his younger years were undeniably shaped by the sober discipline of his mother's upbringing. Striking out on his own, Hughes quickly gained fame in multiple arenas: aviation, film production, and real estate. He broke flight speed records, directed and financed Hollywood blockbusters, and lived a life marked by extravagance and bold risk-taking. In time, however, he became increasingly reclusive, confining himself to penthouse suites and relying on aides for nearly all human contact. Curiously, many of these trusted aides were members of the LDS Church, chosen possibly because Hughes perceived them as disciplined, loyal, and discreet. Some speculate that the familiarity with Mormon culture offered him a sense of security, or reminded him of the stable environment of his childhood. Over the years, this relationship became so tight-knit that the final stretch of Hughes's life was largely attended by Mormon associates. Johnny Whitaker. Johnny Whitaker found fame early in life, catapulting into stardom as a child actor in the late 1960s. Born in Van Nuys, California, he grew up in a devout Mormon family. The values he absorbed at home, modesty, kindness, and respect, formed a solid anchor when Hollywood offered both opportunities and temptations at a tender age. He gained recognition for roles on TV shows like Family Affair, where he played Jody Davis, and in films like the musical version of Tom Sawyer. Child actors often face the pressures of sudden fame, but Johnny's parents ensured he remained grounded, encouraging him to maintain a connection with the church and its supportive community. Attending Sunday services and participating in youth groups provided a sense of normalcy amidst hectic shooting schedules. As he transitioned into adulthood, Whitaker faced challenges that many child stars encounter, including adjusting to life outside the limelight. After a period of personal struggle, he renewed his dedication to his faith, crediting his LDS upbringing with helping him find his way back to stability. Johnny later became an advocate for others facing similar hurdles, sharing his experiences with substance abuse and recovery. Jon Heder. Jon Heder became a cultural sensation with his portrayal of the quirky, endearing Napoleon Dynamite in the 2004 indie hit of the same name. Born in Fort Collins, Colorado, he was raised in a Latter-day Saint family that relocated to Salem, Oregon during his childhood. Jon's early creative impulses were nurtured by a household that valued both spirituality and artistic expression. After graduating from Brigham Young University, an institution owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Heder pursued his passion for film, collaborating with friends and classmates on small projects. None of them expected Napoleon Dynamite to spark the kind of cultural phenomenon it did. The film's success thrust Jon into the spotlight, with fans quoting lines from the movie and imitating his awkward dance moves. Despite the sudden fame, Jon has remained vocal about his faith and how it shapes his choices. He's been selective about roles, preferring characters and scripts that align with his personal ethics. While this approach may mean fewer mainstream blockbusters, Jon appears content with balancing Hollywood aspirations and religious convictions. He's spoken at youth gatherings, encouraging young people to remain true to themselves despite social pressures, often highlighting his own experiences of feeling out of place. Much like Napoleon, in fact. Lorraine Day. Lorraine Day was often billed as the First Lady of Baseball, due to her marriage to famed manager Leo Durocher, but she had already established herself as a gifted actress long before their union. Born in 1920 in Roosevelt, Utah, she grew up in a devout Mormon household that emphasized moral conduct, service to others, and the importance of family. At a young age, Lorraine displayed a flair for performance, taking on local theater roles and dreaming of making it to Hollywood. During the 1930s and 1940s, she landed roles in films like Foreign Correspondent and My Son, My Son. Critics praised her elegance and range, noting her ability to captivate audiences without resorting to over-the-top theatrics. Behind the scenes, Lorraine's faith played a critical role. She was known to decline parts that clashed with her moral values, a stance that, while respected by some, could limit opportunities in an industry that often demanded compromise. Her marriage to Leo Durocher in 1947 sparked headlines, partly because he was not a member of the LDS Church. Nevertheless, Lorraine navigated the limelight by staying authentic to her beliefs. She occasionally hosted Mormon-themed radio programs and remained vocal about her commitment to religious ideals. Beyond Hollywood, Lorraine supported charitable causes and community efforts, reflecting the LDS emphasis on humanitarian work. Marie Windsor. Dubbed the Queen of the B-movies, Marie Windsor appeared in numerous film noir and Western productions throughout the 1940s and 1950s. Born Emily Marie Bertelson in Marysville, Utah, in 1919, she grew up in a strict Latter-day Saint household that prioritized modesty, diligence, and community. From an early age, Marie possessed a magnetic presence that hinted at stardom. On-screen, she played femme fatales and formidable cowgirls, characters that often exuded confidence, cunning, and allure. Yet off-camera, she was known to friends and colleagues as considerate and soft-spoken, an intriguing contrast to her on-screen personas. She acknowledged her Mormon upbringing as a grounding force, crediting it with helping her resist the temptations that accompanied Hollywood notoriety. Though Marie rarely preached about her faith in public, those close to her noted that she approached her career with a set of personal rules. She avoided roles she felt were overtly degrading or morally questionable, maintaining a sense of propriety that was uncommon in the competitive entertainment arena. In between films, she stayed connected to her LDS community, attending events and offering her support to various charitable initiatives. Maynard Dixon. Maynard Dixon, born in 1875 in Fresno, California, had Mormon ancestors who helped settle parts of the American West. Although he did not remain a devout practitioner of the faith, he was undeniably shaped by the pioneering spirit and work ethic characteristic of those frontier communities. Much of his artistic inspiration came from the rugged desert landscapes of Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico, places he explored extensively throughout his life. Dixon's artwork is celebrated for its bold lines, vivid color contrasts, and a unique ability to capture the raw essence of the Southwest. His canvases often depict solitary figures against sweeping skies or vast stretches of open land, a visual metaphor that some art historians link to his sense of solitude and introspection. While he drifted from organized religion, the themes of perseverance, survival, and the majesty of creation echo values he encountered within Mormon culture. Married to photographer Dorothea Lange for a period, Dixon moved in artistic circles where new perspectives challenged the Merlin Olsen. Merlin Olsen was a man who excelled in multiple arenas: professional football, sports commentary, and acting. Born in Logan, Utah, and raised in a faithful LDS household, he learned early on the values of diligence, respect, and teamwork. A standout athlete at Utah State University, Merlin went on to dominate the National Football League as one of the fearsome foursome for the Los Angeles Rams. Despite his imposing presence on the defensive line, teammates admired him for his gentle spirit off the field. When his playing days ended, Merlin seamlessly transitioned into broadcasting, offering thoughtful commentary on NFL games. He brought the same level of preparation and fairness to the booth that he had displayed on the gridiron. Audiences found his insights trustworthy, and colleagues respected his genuine camaraderie. Faith played a significant role in shaping his ethical approach to journalism. He was never one to sensationalize or castigate players for mistakes. Merlin further expanded his public reach by taking on acting roles, most notably on Little House on the Prairie and as the lead in Father Murphy. Throughout these ventures, he remained deeply involved in the LDS community. He gave motivational talks, supported youth sports programs, and participated in service projects, embodying the church's emphasis on charity and collective responsibility. Moroni Olsen. Moroni Olsen was born in Ogden, Utah, in 1889, to parents who were active members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Even his name speaks to his heritage, referencing an important figure from the Book of Mormon. Growing up, he found an early interest in drama, eventually organizing his own theatrical touring company that performed across the western United States. When Hollywood's call grew louder in the 1930s, Moroni made a successful transition to film, appearing in Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious, 1946, and other notable productions like Father of the Bride, 1950, where he often played authoritative or paternal figures. His resonant voice and dignified air brought gravitas to each role, enhancing the film's depth without overshadowing the leading stars. In tandem with his acting career, Moroni was an active member of the LDS Church in the Hollywood area, even teaching youth in his local ward. He championed the idea that faith and artistry could be harmonious pursuits, taking pride in mentoring younger performers, LDS or otherwise, who sought to maintain moral standards. Colleagues noted his personal warmth and disciplined approach to work, qualities deeply connected to his religious upbringing. Pat Priest. Pat Priest is fondly remembered for her role as Marilyn Munster on the classic TV sitcom The Munsters. Born in Bountiful, Utah, she was raised within a devout LDS family that prioritized virtues like kindness, modesty, and service. Despite playing the plain cousin in a household of comically monstrous relatives, Pat became a fan favorite for her sweet disposition and calm, reassuring presence. Before landing in Hollywood, Pat honed her interests in modeling and local pageants. Her mother served in civic roles, instilling in Pat a sense of responsibility and a desire to give back. These attributes carried over when she eventually found success in acting. Although The Munsters was a far cry from the religious environment of her youth, Pat's grounded approach to fame stood out. She avoided the pitfalls that sometimes accompany a sudden spotlight, crediting her family's support and the values she had embraced since childhood. After the show ended in 1966, Pat continued acting in various TV and film roles, though none achieved the same cultural impact as The Munsters. Later, she stepped away from mainstream media, preferring a quieter life that allowed her to focus on family and community activities. She periodically attended nostalgic conventions or cast reunions, greeting fans with a warmth reminiscent of her character on screen. Philo Farnsworth. Born in a log cabin in Beaver, Utah, in 1906, Philo T. Farnsworth demonstrated remarkable ingenuity from an early age. Raised in a devout Mormon family, he learned the importance of discipline and problem-solving. At age 14, Farnsworth famously sketched the concept of an electronic television system on a school blackboard, astonishing a teacher who quickly realized the teenager's rare brilliance. In his early 20s, Farnsworth achieved what others deemed impossible. He transmitted the first electronic television image in 1927. While competitors still toyed with mechanical systems, Philo's all-electronic design would become the blueprint for modern television. His faith, which emphasized perseverance and continuous learning, guided him through a series of grueling patent battles, most notably with the Radio Corporation of America, RCA. Though he eventually won legal recognition, the emotional and financial toll was immense. Throughout these turbulent years, Farnsworth's wife, Elma, played a vital supportive role, assisting in the lab and standing by him during court disputes. The couple frequently drew strength from their religious beliefs. Farnsworth's modest demeanor and relentless curiosity exemplified core LDS tenets: seek knowledge, work diligently, and maintain moral integrity. Ray Combs. Ray Combs rose to national prominence in the late 1980s as the charismatic host of Family Feud. Born and raised in Hamilton, Ohio, Ray was a lifelong member of The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, drawing upon his faith for guidance in an industry that can be notoriously unstable. Before fame struck, he performed stand-up comedy routines, honing his quick wit and affable stage presence in clubs and small venues. When Family Feud needed a new host, Ray's wholesome image and talent for engaging with everyday contestants made him the perfect fit. Audiences immediately warmed to his self-deprecating humor and genuine kindness, traits often linked to his LDS upbringing. He would occasionally refer to his beliefs, but mostly in a subtle way, exemplifying the principles of politeness and charity that the church teaches. Despite his success, Ray faced personal struggles off-camera. The pressures of show business and financial woes weighed heavily on him, culminating in a tragic end to his life. It was a stark reminder that even those with strong convictions can be vulnerable when life's demands become overwhelming. In retrospect, many of his friends and fans mourned not only the loss of a talented entertainer, but also the compassionate individual they had come to respect. Sterling W. Sill. Sterling W. Sill was born in 1903 and grew up immersed in the principles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Over time, he carved out a niche as a motivational speaker and author, blending faith-based wisdom with actionable advice for self-improvement. While many speakers focus solely on secular strategies for success, Sterling merged scriptural teachings, personal discipline, and leadership philosophies to create a unique tapestry of guidance. His books and speeches addressed a broad audience, from high-level executives aiming to refine their management styles to everyday individuals seeking spiritual and personal growth. Sterling had a talent for illustrating timeless concepts, like honesty, service, and tenacity, with real-world examples, making them relatable and easy to adopt. Radio programs further expanded his reach, allowing listeners across the country to learn from his lessons at a time when such positive programming was in high demand. Yet Sterling's focus wasn't purely on motivation in a worldly sense. He believed true prosperity arose when spiritual convictions informed daily actions. This perspective resonated with those who felt corporate or personal success could be pursued ethically, without sacrificing moral underpinnings. Within LDS circles, Sterling became an influential figure, often invited to speak at church events, leadership seminars, and community gatherings. Wilford Brimley. Wilford Brimley was born in Salt Lake City, Utah, into a family that valued self-reliance and community, cornerstones of the Latter-day Saint ethos. Before finding his niche in acting, Brimley worked various jobs, including as a ranch hand, blacksmith, and even a bodyguard for businessman Howard Hughes. These rugged, real-world experiences would later lend authenticity to his on-screen roles, whether he was playing a gruff farmer or a no-nonsense coach. His breakthrough came in the 1970s and 1980s, with memorable parts in films like The China Syndrome, Cocoon, and The Firm. Audiences connected with his everyman persona and straightforward manner of speaking. Off-camera, Brimley never shied from acknowledging the faith that shaped his worldview. He participated in local ward events, sometimes performing music or sharing cowboy poetry that spoke to the values and lifestyle he cherished. As Brimley's celebrity grew, he lent his distinctive voice and appearance to various causes, famously becoming a spokesperson for diabetes awareness. Even then, he approached the role with candor and sincerity. Friends and fans recognized the influence of Mormon principles in his emphasis on family, personal responsibility, and kindness. Throughout his career, he avoided the glitz and pretentiousness that can accompany fame, opting instead for a straightforward approach consistent with his LDS background.